Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to DHA Education System. Today we will revise from chapter number 1 to 3. From week 1 to 6 we have completed our 3 chapters. British rule over India, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, beginning of Hindu and Muslim nationalism. We have completed these 3 chapters and today we will revise these 3. These are your resources. You can take the help from the History and Culture of Pakistan by Nigel Kelly, and the other one is your book Understanding History by Ismat Riaz. So by the end of today's lesson, you will be able to revise and consolidate the reasons of the fall of the Mughal Empire, evaluate the arrival of British and how they became rulers from traders, analyze War of Independence 1857, review Lord Macauley's Minute on Education, and Aligarh Movement versus Syed Ahmad Khan and Albert Bill. Explain the reasons of the partition of Bengal and evaluate the causes of the formation of the Muslim League in 1906 and interpret Minto-Morley reforms. Briefly telling what we have read from chapter number 1 to chapter number 3. We started with the fall of the Mughal Empire. In fact, this chapter content we took from the History and Culture of Pakistan by Nigel Kelly. In Ismat Riaz's Understanding History, it starts from the arrival of the British in the subcontinent. So I thought it that you must be aware of the scenario when in the subcontinent when the British came over there. So we started with the fall of the decline of the Mughal Empire. Then the arrival of the British, how they came to the subcontinent. From traders, they became the rulers. The War of Independence 1857, Lord Macaulay's Minute on Education, the effect of it also. Aligarh movement, why it was started and how Sir Syed Ahmad Khan contributed towards the upgrading Muslim condition and improving them in the subcontinent. Then Albert Bill, then partition of Bengal, then All India Muslim League's formation, the reason and the causes behind it we have discussed in detail, and then the Morley Minto reforms, also known as Indian Council Act 1909. We started chapter 1 with the Mughal Empire. I told you briefly about the Mughals and especially focusing on Aurangzeb and his policies. The Mughal Empire was an empire in the Indian subcontinent which was founded in 1526. It was established and ruled by the Timurid dynasty. The two first Mughal emperors had both parents of Central Asian ancestry, while successive emperors were of predominantly Persian and Rajput ancestry. The dynasty was Indo-Persian in culture. The period of the Great Mughals, which began in 1526 with Babur's accession to the throne, ended with the death of Aurangzeb in 1707. Aurangzeb's death marked the end of an era in Indian history. Within about 50 years of his death, the Mughal Empire disintegrated. Aurangzeb's death was followed by a war of succession among his 3 sons. In fact, Aurangzeb is held responsible for sowing the seeds of the decline of the Mughal Empire. Mainly focusing on the reasons of the decline of the Mughal Empire, which can be categorized into internal and external reasons. There were internal reasons which led towards the collapse of the Mughal Empire, and there were external reasons. A few you can see in this picture, that the Mughal Empire grew weak by 1700 as the kings spent too much money on palaces and war. In addition, the large population of Hindus in India began to revolt against their Muslim rulers. Great Britain took advantage of this weaknesses and they conquered India and removed the last Mughal emperor from power in 1858. So these are the main causes of the decline of the Mughal Empire. We have discussed other also prominent one of them were the military cost, the declining military expertise, then the weak control, succession disputes and administrative weaknesses. British came to the subcontinent as traders. They were only a group of traders who came to India. So they came to India as traders. They got permission in 1600 from Queen Elizabeth I through a charter which gave monopoly to the East India Company. The English trader had to face opposition from other European nations, French and Dutch, because both these nations had also set up East India companies for trade in India, which resulted in rivalry. By 1756, both the English and the French companies had become richer as they were paid by Nawabs for using their troops. The English continued to take advantage of the disintegrating Mughal Empire to bring more and more territory under their control. Lord Wellesley came up with the policy of subsidiary alliance to bring the states under the British control. So they, in fact, the British took advantage of the weaknesses of the Mughals at that time, and they kept on expanding their control over the subcontinent. The time came when they became the rulers. So there were two extremes at that time actually: the Indian weaknesses and the British strength. The British were very strong at that time because they were going through the industrial revolution, while on the other hand the Indians were very weak because of the disintegration among them and because of their disunity. In 1803, British forces defeated the Marathas at Delhi. Titles and pensions of the Mughal emperor and the Maratha Peshwa were reduced by the Governor General Lord Dalhousie. In 1852, the British introduced doctrine of lapse, by which rulers had to cede their states to the British. Further detail of it you can even see in the previous lectures. By 1856, most of India was under the direct rule of the East India Company and the indirect rule of the British Crown. And then came the year 1857. We saw the first serious challenge to British rule when the Indian soldiers, both Hindu and Muslim, revolted against their British army officers. The revolt spread and the British had to put it down. This came to be known as the First War of Independence by the Indians and the Indian Mutiny by the British. So after this War of Independence, because the British became successful in defeating the Indians, because the Indians were disunited and they were not that much strong, so they could not match the strength of the British. So finally British established themselves as the new rulers after winning the War of Independence in 1857. After British won the War of Independence, the Queen's Proclamation 1858 was issued. Queen Victoria became Empress of India. Proclamation Act 1858 brought certain changes. It brought India under the direct rule of the British Crown. The rights of East India Company were taken over by the government in Britain. Under the proclamation, the doctrine of lapse was abolished. Missionaries were instructed not to force conversions and missionary schools were curtailed. The proclamation's declaration of the British Indian government policy remained the base of the administration by the British Crown up to 1917. Briefly telling you when doing a recap or the reinforcement of British policies after they became the rulers in 1857. After 1858, they divided India into 11 provinces which were directly under the British rule. The British followed the administration of the Mughals with centralization at the core and a responsible provincial government. By 1835, the pace of change in India was quickened. Under the Governor General Lord William Bentinck, momentous decisions were taken which were to alter the course of educating the Indians. Lord Macaulay's famous Minute on Education put to rest the controversy whether Oriental education in Sanskrit and Persian should be given government support or the promotion of Western learning through the medium of English language. These are the outcomes of the educational, communicational and economic policies. Sir Charles Wood's dispatch of 1854 led to the establishment of a Department of Public Instruction under which degree awarding universities were set up on the pattern of London universities. When British left India, literacy was reduced to just 10% in areas making up Pakistan and 30% in India. Lord Dulles' modernization plan for India was carried on even more diligently after the Crown took over in 1858. Railway tracks grew to 5,000 miles and to 25,000 miles by the end of the 19th century. All the raw materials, locomotives, railroad equipment, and the cars were directly imported from Britain, and agriculture production was boosted. So they introduce all these policies, keeping their own advantages, keeping their own priorities at front, because I also told you they wanted to make a class of Indians. They wanted to create a class of Indian who are Indian in blood, but who are British in their intellect, in their interest. Moreover, the introduction of the railways and all the latest, like the latest communications resources like the telegraph, etc. They introduce all these in order to ensure the safe mobility of the resources from the subcontinent to Britain. Despite the advances in the field of commerce, trade, and education, relations after the War of 1857 between the Indians and the British rulers remained one of distrust. They both don't trust each other. The War of Independence had made the British realize their mistake of not keeping themselves informed about Indian opinion on the reforms that they had brought in before 1857. They thought that the Indians should be involved in the running of the country so that they get to know about their opinion and can govern the country smoothly. So they introduced the two acts, the Indian Council Act of 1861 and the Indian Council Act of 1892. The Indian Council Act of 1861 was passed to include non-officials of Indian descent on the Viceroy's Executive Council to be nominated by the Viceroy himself. In 1892, nearly 31 years later, the British thought it prudent to bring in further improvement by the inclusion of more Indians on the Legislative Council of the Viceroy. So here they start involving the Indians in the administration, but real powers were in the hands of the British. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan played a very important role in the history of the subcontinent. He was the pioneer of two-nation theory. He initiated Aligarh movement, which rendered services on the social as well as religious basis for the Muslims of the subcontinent. The Hindi-Urdu controversy convinced Sir Syed Ahmad Khan to think about the differences between Hindus and Muslim. Earlier, he was convinced that there is only one nation in the country. He considered them as both Hindus and the Muslim as one nation. But the attitude of the Hindus, especially the Hindi-Urdu controversy, made him realize and made him come to the point that there are two nations in the country. They are Hindus and Muslim who are entirely different from each other in their traditions, in their habits, in their cultures, in their religion. So he used the word two nations for the Hindus and the Muslims in 1868 for the first time. So he gave his this famous two nation theory, which became the basis of the Pakistan movement, because on the basis of this two nation theory, the Muslim demanded for a separate homeland for them, and finally they were able to get a separate state in 1947. The contributions of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan by starting the Aligarh movement can be categorized into these three. He worked to improve Muslim-British relations because he at that time realized that the only solution for the Muslims to get the benefit of the modern policies or to improve their social condition and economic condition is to have good relationship with the British. Yeah, because he tried to convince the Muslim that armed struggle against the British at this moment is pointless because they were very strong at that time. So what he did, he tried to remove the misunderstanding between the British and the Muslims. He convinced both. At one side, he convinced the Muslims. On the other side, he convinced the British. He convinced both the communities to trust each other, and for this purpose, he wrote different essays and pamphlets. Like the causes of the Indian revolt, the loyal Mohammedans of India, in which he highlighted the reasons. In the first one, he highlighted the reason behind the War of Independence, and in the second one, the Loyal Mohammedans of India, he highlighted the loyal services performed by the Muslim for the British. So this was an endeavor by him to improve the relations so that they both trust each other and so that the Muslim can take advantage of the reforms introduced by the British and of all the policies which they were implementing in the subcontinent. Another thing done by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was to increase the political awareness among Muslims, because that was the need of the hour as Congress was formed and it has become a predominantly Hindu dominant party, and it was only talking about the rights of the Hindus. So at that time it was necessary for the Muslims to get to know about their rights and fight for it. So he tried to increase political awareness among Muslims. He tried to reform Muslim educational system through introducing Western education to lead to better economical status. So he made the Muslim to realize that without getting modern education, they will not be able to get the jobs in the civil services. So he made different institutions in order to teach the Muslims on the model lines. So these are the different contributions which are performed by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. He improved the relation between the Muslim and the British. He increased the political awareness, and he was able to make the Muslim to get the modern education, and he did the arrangement for it. So Sir Syed Ahmad Khan's contributions are very important in the history of subcontinent. Other than this, we have also discussed his two nation theory, his role when the Hindi-Urdu controversy was started. This is your chapter number 3, the beginning of Hindu-Muslim nationalism. It covered the timeline from 1885 to 1909. The Hindu revivalist movement, the Arya Samaj, vigorous reform movement of modern Hinduism, was founded in 1875 by Dayananda Saraswati to re-establish the Vedas, the earliest Hindu scriptures. Then the Albert Bill was introduced by C.P. Albert in 1883. The reason behind the introduction of this bill was to end racial discrimination in judiciary system. British subjects in 1873 had been exempted from trial by Indian magistrates, and in cases involving death or transportation they could only be tried by the High Court. This proposal, as embodied in Albert Bill, provoked furious protests, especially among Calcutta European business community and Bengal indigo planters. The incident did much to give Indian national feeling a political form. Bengal was the largest of the provinces of India. At the end of 19th century, it included Western Bengal with a population of 54 million and East Bengal and Assam with a population of 31 million. So this was a huge area actually to govern as one unit. You can understand it from this example that there were 10 times as many people in Bengal as there were in the whole of Britain at this time. So the British claimed that the Bengal was too large to govern as one province, and it would be more efficient to govern it as two smaller provinces. In 1903, Viceroy Curzon proposed that Bengal should be partitioned into West Bengal and East Bengal. And but it was 2 years before the proposal was put forward. In 1905, the British partitioned Bengal, and they decided to divide it into two in order to govern it smoothly. So briefly looking at it, the reaction of the Hindus and the Muslims towards the partition was different. The Muslims were very happy and delighted with the partition because their position was improved overnight. Like since 1867, British had mistrusted the Muslim and they had denied their proper education. And the Hindus had gained all the advantage, and they had even tried to replace Urdu with Hindi. Now at least the Muslim had true recognition. They got a province in which they were now in majority. While on the other hand, the Hindus believed that the British had divided Bengal as a part of their traditional divide and rule policy, and they thought that they just did it. They divided the Bengal in order to reduce their authority and their dominance. So the partition aroused fury among the Hindus, and they started protesting against it. And under their pressure, finally the British had to reverse it in 1911. And Lord Hardinge, the new viceroy, agreed to reverse the partition of Bengal in 1911. The reversal of partition was bitterly opposed by the Muslims, but the British were not to be moved because the Muslims were in minority. So it was in their favor to get the support of the majority in order to run the country smoothly. So that is why they reversed the partition of Bengal. So Muslim came to the decision that they could not trust the British government for the protection of their rights. So this was also one of the reasons which finally made them to come to the point that they need to organize and mobilize themselves. They need to be united in order to protect their rights. The formation of All India Muslim League. The All India Muslim League was a political party. It was established in 1906 in British India. Before it, the Hindus were having their own party with the name Indian National Congress, which was formed in 1885. Sir Said advised at first Muslim not to join Indian National Congress, as this party was only working for the benefit of Hindus. Due to these unhealthy conditions, the Muslims of subcontinent forced to form their own political party, because Congress was only working for the Hindus. So the Muslim felt that they need to have their own political body which could fight for their rights. So they decided to form the All India Muslim League. Moreover, Hindi-Urdu controversy, behavior of different Hindu organizations, Hindu-Muslim riots, the reaction of Hindus to the partition of Bengal, the Muslim success at Shimla. These are some of the major causes behind the formation of All India Muslim League. In fact, Muslims got at Shimla their separate electorates, which encouraged them and gave them the confidence that if in future they wanted to get any of their demands to be fulfilled from the British, they need to have their own political party which could work for their benefits and for safeguarding their rights. So later on, this party turned into large and the role representative of the Indian Muslims in the freedom movement. So this All India Muslim League played a very important role in the freedom struggle. It worked as a platform where it united all the Muslims, spread across the message over the subcontinent, and finally it was able, under the leadership of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, to get a separate state for the Muslims where they were free to live their life according to their religion. 3 years after the formation of the Muslim League, the parliamentary reforms were introduced in 1909, which contained the most important demand of All India Muslim League, which was the separate electorate. In 1905, Lord Minto as Viceroy replaced Lord Curzon. In 1906, John Morley was appointed as Secretary of State of India. They both worked together to draw up a series of reforms which were passed by the British Parliament in 1909, known as the Indian Council Act, and also known as parliamentary reforms. The most important consequence of the reform was the acceptance of the separate electorates for the Muslims. The parliamentary reform increased the number of Indians sitting on the council, but their function was only advisory. The British acceptance of the rights of the Muslims to have separate electorates was its main feature and the first step towards Pakistan. So it is noteworthy that the parliamentary reform increased the number of Indians sitting on the Viceroy's councils, and therefore appeared to give the local population a greater say how the country was run. But the council, actually that council had no real power. Their functions were purely advisory. The British were keen only to allow the Indians to express their opinions, and they wanted to know what the Indians had to say. But they did not intend that the locals should have the power to change government policy. So even Morley himself stated that the reforms were not part of a move towards setting up a parliament in India. Indeed, he stated that if he thought that they might make such a parliament any more likely. So The most important outcome of the reform was acceptance of the separate electorates. Although the Hindus argued that this was undemocratic, and for the next 25 years, Congress was to pass an annual resolution calling for an end to separate electorates. But Congress failed to understand that the British were trying to do. The British had no desire to establish a democracy in India. Instead, they wanted to make as few concessions as were necessary to bring stability. So that was the only reason behind the introduction of the Morley-Minto reforms. So that was all which we have read from chapter number 1 to 3. Uh, let's have a recap of all these chapters. We from chapter starting from the Britain rules India, we actually started with the causes of the Mughal decline, and this part we did from the history and culture of Pakistan by Nigel Kelly. Because it was necessary to give you an idea what was the scenario in the subcontinent when the British entered over there. So the period of the Great Mughals, which began in 1526 with Babur's accession to the throne, ended with the death of Aurangzeb in 1707. So from here actually started the decline of the Mughal Empire. Some of the main causes of the decline of the Mughal Empire were the administrative weaknesses, military costs, succession disputes, and the arrival of the British. Actually, the Mughal Empire was already in decline when the British came to the subcontinent, which became the final blow. That was the arrival of the British. The English came to India as traders, but they continued to take advantage of the disintegrating Mughal Empire to bring more and more territory under their control. In 1857, Indian soldiers, both Hindus and Muslims, revolted against the British army officer, which resulted in the War of Independence 1857, when the British fully established themselves as the new rulers. Proclamation Act of Queen Victoria 1858 brought India under the direct rule of British Crown. So from here started the British rule over the subcontinent. Then they introduced the different reforms, but despite the advances in the field of commerce, trade, and education, relation after the War of 1857 between the Indian and the British rulers remained one of distrust. So, um, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, he worked for upgrading the condition of the Muslim because the Muslims were in decline. They were politically, economically, and socially in backward position. So he initiated Aligarh movement, which rendered services on the social as well as religious basis for the Muslims of the subcontinent, and he worked hard in order to improve the condition of the Muslims in the subcontinent. Then Sir C.P. Albert introduced a bill popularly known as Albert Bill 1883 to end racial discrimination in judiciary system. We covered the timeline from 1885 to 1909 and then 1911 with the reversal of the partition. The Bengal partition was done in 1905 because the Bengal was the largest of the provinces of the subcontinent, so it was split into two. And reaction of the Hindus we have discussed. Due to unhealthy condition, the Muslim subcontinent forced to form their own political party known as All India Muslim League. So there were many factors behind the formation of the Muslim League. One of them was their success at Shimla. Then they have seen the reaction of the Hindus towards the partition of Bengal, which was reversed in 1911. I hope you learned a lot from today's lesson. We have revised from chapter 1 to chapter 3, and the main points I highlighted. In order to get them into detail, you can even go to the week 1 to week 6 lessons, and you can further study them. Coming to today's written task, in your Understanding History by Ismat Riaz, at the end of each chapter you find out different questions, different exercise questions. So this week's written task is that you have to practice exercise questions of chapter 1, 2 and 3 and learn the answers of those questions. You can take the help from the lessons of week 1 to 6. I hope you learned a lot from today's lessons. Best of luck. Stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.